the reason why I chose the field that I did into managing townhomes and associations is that they're owned properties. They're not rentals. So you don't have they care about their properties. They want, they want to invest in them. They want to keep them maintained and taken care of, where and it's the standpoint of rentals, it maybe doesn't necessarily always go that way. They don't own it, they don't care. But and that's not always true. There are good renters out there. But in the fact that the properties that I manage are privately owned, some of them are rentals, but I deal with the owners of those rentals versus with their tenants. So that makes a big difference. But it is a 24-hour a day job for sure.
Thank you for joining us. We know that your time is valuable and we appreciate you spending it with us.
This show is talking about beyond the blueprint and what happens kind of behind the scenes of the construction world, and also what happens in our lives from a family business and ranching and all the things that keep us building and moving forward.
And if there's something that you heard that resonates with you, whether it was a joke, an idea, please like this, share it with someone you know, and feel free to leave comments. We look forward to seeing what you have to say.
Let's dig in.
So welcome to this episode of Two Bees in a Podcast. I'm Brad Jans with Jans Corporation, joined by Brian. Brian, I got to tell you, Mom called and said before we can come back over for dinner, we should probably get our sister Erin on here.
We better get her.
So here she is. She's joining us, and we're going to get a little bit of her history growing up in the family and what she's doing today.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
We are really excited to have you here. I know there's a lot of conversations we've had with Dale where he brings you up, and a lot of things that we want to talk about today. Kind of, just your involvement growing up in the company as a young kid, and the path you took through college, and where you're at today, how you still stay involved with the family, and what keeps you busy, how you stay sane.
So you want me to start with my history?
Yeah, why don't you just start with a little bit of your resume now, like what family, tell us a little bit about yourself. What can we know about you?
So, well, I'm the middle child, so also the favorite, but maybe we'll get to that. So I worked for the Jans Corporation company as a kid, like we all did, cleaning bathrooms and cleaning up on Saturday or Sundays or whatever day of the week we came, and worked through high school out in the field. I started out actually my first year in the shop working with the head mechanic, and had me changing oil, had me doing all kinds of stuff. Not really girly type things when you're a 14-year-old kid, but I enjoyed it. Learned a lot from it, and then worked out in the field doing cleanup on jobs and things like that. And had the opportunity when I went to college to go to work at a bank. So all through college, I worked at a loan department at a bank here in Sioux Falls. Learned a lot doing that. So a lot of a little bit of construction background, a little bit of banking background. And then when I graduated from college, there was a real estate agent in town who was starting his own commercial business.
What was the major you had in college?
Oh, I was a civil engineering degree.
Why'd you choose that degree?
Same as what Dad was. And I think it was one of those things in high school, getting to be the time that everyone else is picking their colleges and what they're doing. And I didn't really have a major plan, but knew that I would probably somehow be involved in the family business. And that seemed like the next logical step, since that's what my dad did. So went to SDSU, got a civil engineering degree. Graduated in the December, the year that I graduated, and I did not want to go survey in December because it's cold. And that seemed to be about the only opportunities available. And then that's when a local real estate agent was starting a commercial real estate business. He needed an assistant. Dale did a lot of work with him and said, my daughter needs a job. So I went to work with him, worked for him for 9 years. And then that's when I came back to Jans Corporation after the 9 years. And at that time had 4 small children. And my husband was working at Jans at the time. And so came back, did some payroll, some office, sit at the front desk, and at the same time was starting my own business. And so that property management business grew from there. And after a couple of years back at Jans, I was able to go off on my own and managing properties, particularly homeowners associations, townhomes, owned properties, not so much rental properties,
Sure.
but keeps me busy, and I can say I don't have a single day that's the same as the one before. So.
So one quick question, no judgment here, but while you were working at Jan's that second time and building your business, were you like stealing stamps or office supplies or how
I don't think I did stamps, but I probably used the printer, the copier a few times.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Understood.
So I was curious, you got 4 children. Any of them have any interest in relative businesses to what you've built for yourself?
Well, potentially. So our oldest, who just recently got married, he went to Lake Area Tech and has a degree in auto body. He's working for a automotive company here in Sioux Falls. And then our second daughter, she graduated from USD. We won't talk about that, but she has a business degree and actually just started managing an apartment building down in Vermilion. So she did intern with me her last summer the summer before her senior year, and I tried to warn her, but she actually enjoyed it, I think, and has gotten some experience now working for a different company doing property management. Child number 3, she is a third-year student up at SDSU taking elementary education, and number 4 just graduated from high school, took a break from school, and he's working for a subcontractor for a company here in Sioux Falls. So
he's in the trades.
They're in the trades, yeah.
It seems like they're all kind of connected
Yeah.
in different aspects of it.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that you touched on that I want to get maybe a little more involved with. You mentioned high school, beginning of college, you worked at Jan's Corporation, started in the shop and then went into the field. I think back in, I'll call it the mid-90s, you might have been the first woman construction worker at Jan's Corporation in the field.
Potentially. Could have been.
What was that like being in the field? Like you said, it wasn't maybe, you were the one of your kind there. What was that like working with a bunch of kind of burly guys?
Right. Well, and I suppose besides the fact that just, being female, but also being pretty young, I was only probably 15, 16. For the most part, I think that's why Dad wanted me to be in the shop that first year, keep me close to the office where he maybe knew where I was at and what I was doing. But when I did go out more into the field projects, I did have a friend that was working with me. So it was 2 of us together. So that was good. And a lot of the work that we did wasn't until a lot of the main trades were gone. So we really were just working with kind of the supervisor and maybe a couple of people that were still finishing up some last minute things. And, everybody was always respectful. I'm sure they maybe knew to not use some of their colorful language and things like that. But it was definitely a good experience.
Do you still change your own oil?
Absolutely not.
Just because you know how to do it doesn't mean you have to.
So I was curious, with your degree in civil engineering, your experience in commercial real estate with Jan's Corp, how has that helped you or create your business that you have now in the property management side?
Yeah, I think a lot of, all of those things tie together from the standpoint of a project, from the building side of it, knowing where things had to start from, that it had to be a plan and it had to be developed, and it, things that go into the construction side of it and those trades that go into the various buildings. And so knowing a little bit about that when it came to be, questions that would come up or things that people would not know how they worked if they weren't familiar with that industry. And from the banking side of things, of course, I worked in the loan department, so a lot of how things are financed and, credit and things like that. So that's an important part of people working with people and making sure that they can pay their bills and know what they're getting into when they're buying into some of these properties and things like that. So, and then working for a commercial real estate company, just getting kind of my foot in the door that way, getting a license, doing all the education to have that, know what to do there and being able to start on my own. So a lot of it was done, a lot of my business has grown just by word of mouth. I really haven't done a lot of advertising. It's been somebody who knew, you manage my family member's development and we're looking for one in ours. And it's surprising in Sioux Falls how many homeowners associations there are. But it wasn't a common thing too many years ago. I think they said the first one, from my understanding, the first one in the state of South Dakota, which I do manage, is turning 50 this year. So it's the first. It's only been 50 years that there's been homeowners associations in Sioux Falls, or in South Dakota even.
So one more question about your civil engineering degree, because I just found out last night my daughter was filling out her scholarship for college, and she put down engineering as the field she's looking to go in. I remember one of the professors that was there, Dr. Reed, you remember him, and he told me, one of the best qualities of civil engineering is just problem solving. You really learn how to solve problems. I would imagine in the property management world, you run into some problems from day to day. What are some of those that you've been facing? How has your engineering degree helped with that? And what could you encourage other kids, and specifically girls, to maybe go into that as at least a field of study? It may not be their profession, but good education.
Well, I would say the engineering field in general, there's a lot of different areas besides just civil. And getting your degree, you have to go through a lot of those other classes and learn some of the things that go into that. And so it is a great field to go into, just from the standpoint of how much you learn, even if you don't end up using it. But I think it's exciting to hear of girls going into that industry still. When I was in college, I think there was maybe 5 or 6 of us. Also turned out that the year that I got married, I had 1 semester left. All 5 of us girls got married that summer. And the instructor was going through the list of the names, and everybody, my name changed, and got to the last girl, and he looked at the class, the rest all guys. Well, anybody else changed their last name? So it was, it's definitely something that I know has grown quite a bit since I was there, but it's exciting to see that people are, especially staying in the family, that she's looking at that. So that's great.
So I was going to ask, I have a kind of long lead into a short question, but you are a fairly small operation, but you have a pretty big footprint with some of the sizes of the HOAs that you manage. I know a couple of years back we did a big family vacation, like all of us, and I felt like you were constantly putting out fires on vacation, which you have to when you own a business. But what would you say you love about what you do now?
I would say I love the flexibility. I love the fact that no day is the same. There's something, and about the time you think, well, now I've seen it all, something else happens. And just working with different people, and that's one of the things I think I've had to learn, and I think learned from Dad as well, is just to be able to deal with different personalities and how your response to those personalities can make or break your own day. And being able to actually, in some of the experiences that my daughter's had just in the short time she's been at her job, getting to talk through some of that with her and just say, you can't take things personally. You just have to look at it from their perspective. They're upset about something for whatever reason, and all you can do is try to explain to them that this is how it is, and this is the way it's gonna be. And some people like you for it, and some people don't. So it's just all part of the business.
Well, God bless you for doing HOA management, because obviously Jan's Corporation, the construction side, we're primarily commercial construction, so we work with people in their businesses. And I think there's a true distinction between people's businesses and their homes, their residences. Now, we do have a residential department, we do build houses, and we see that too, just working with them. I can only imagine some of the calls you get. It's your business, your property management is your business, that's work for you, but you're dealing with people's lives, everyday lives. When a storm hits and something's broken or damaged, they want that fixed right away. And that's just your job, but you've got to appeal to their livelihood.
And that a lot of the reason why I chose the field that I did into managing townhomes and associations is that they're owned properties, they're not rentals. So you don't have they care about their properties. They want they want to invest in them. They want to keep them maintained and taken care of. And it's the standpoint of rentals, it maybe doesn't necessarily always go that way. They don't own it, they don't care. But and that's not always true. There are good renters out there. But in the fact that the properties that I manage are privately owned, some of them are rentals, but I deal with the owners of those rentals versus with their tenants. So that makes a big difference. But it is a 24-hour a day job for sure. But and a lot of people times I get calls, either late at night or early in the mornings or on Sundays, and I didn't think you'd answer your phone. Well, I have to.
In a previous episode, we talked too about how Dale kind of had some rules for us growing up. College was certainly one of those requirements that he had us go do. He had a requirement to go work somewhere else for at least 2 years, which we all accomplished that. And the other one he kind of talked about was just not putting us in partnerships with each other. However, we've all kind of seemed to end up back working together. Can maybe expound a little bit on how that interconnection works with your business, and it kind of intertwines with us and how we sometimes work together.
Yeah, so the, I guess, company or side of things that I worked with Dad on was properties that he owned, and doing some of the management of those. And so he got me involved in that part of it. And there has been some things, through maintenance and different services that you guys provide that those properties or properties that I manage could benefit from. And but we've always been able to work together in a manner of, hey, I have this project. Do you want to take a look at it? And we're getting other bids. It's not. I've never gone to any of the properties that I manage and said you have to use a specific company. But certainly give each other the opportunity to do that when we can.
We keep bringing you properties to manage, and you keep turning us down.
So I think too, like a previous episode where Dale talked about each of our strengths and weaknesses, how do you think that reflects in your role now and what you learned from your prior experience?
Yeah, well, a lot of what I do for the properties I manage is the financial side of things, just tracking their books and collecting their payments, paying their bills, doing budgeting, things like that. And, in some occasions they'll have, we've already had this one that we've been using before you came on board. And, well, no, that's going to change to the way I like it. And most of them have been pretty receptive to that. So, but yeah, I do still use numbers and spreadsheets and things on a daily basis.
So I'm going to touch back real quick on the, kind of division of our work. And, the beginning of the episode, you mentioned that you may be the favorite, and maybe maybe there's some truth to that, because obviously you were selected to go the or property management route, and you don't have the gray hair and you still have all of your hair. What do you think? What makes you classify yourself as the favorite?
Oh, well, I'm definitely a favorite daughter.
Well, that's for sure. We can all agree to that. Yeah.
I would agree.
Brad was a cheerleader, so we're going to have to argue that one a little bit.
That my kids love that too.
Was actually introduced as that once.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and the gray hair, it's there. You just can't see it.
Smart.
But yeah. What was the question?
Why do you think you're the favorite? What makes you?
I honestly don't think I'm the favorite. I think we have. I think we all have our different things that are a favorite of our parents, but I don't know that any of us have something that's, the favorite. It's all we each have our different strengths, and I think that they know that, and I think Dad's especially, as he admitted that he has known that for a long time, and kind of directed us in ways that he thought would be good for us, and we were lucky to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been pretty good at complementing our strong points.
Yeah. Well, and on the standpoint of being the only daughter, unfortunately for Mom, I'm not I like to bake and cook and sew and that kind of daughter. So she, didn't have the girly girl growing up, but it's, she's still there for us when we need her, and still willing to fix a wedding dress at the last minute and whatever it might be. So.
Well, one of the unwritten rules that Dale has that isn't ever posted anywhere, but it is kind of an unwritten rule that you have to have a motorcycle in the family. Dale's a big motorcycle guy, and we go on rides. Do you have your own motorcycle?
I do have my own motorcycle.
Wow.
My husband has his own motorcycle. My son has his own motorcycle. So.
Jamie doesn't ride in the back of yours?
Not yet, no.
Well, that I would pay to see.
Yeah. Well, Probably wouldn't even have to pay.
You'll be waiting a while, I'm afraid.
Oh, I think we could make it happen.
Cue the video now.
Yeah. We did an episode earlier that talked about the family farm growing up at the ranch. You weren't afraid to get your hands dirty when we would work cattle or be out there. You'd get right in with everybody else and get involved. So any points about that you enjoyed from the time we were kids out there goofing around?
So many memories from the farm and still are. It's certainly one of our favorite places and is for my kids as well. They still regularly ask when we can go and you know, our family has grown. We have some significant others and things that they want to share it with them. So it's quite a obstacle to get through, everybody to be able to be there at the same time, and where's everybody going to sleep and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's always a great time. And back to the days of branding and just being out there when we were kids, and I think Mom and Dad just wanted to get rid of us for a while. We could stay for a week or whatever it was, and just absolutely very much a part of our lives and formative in who we have become, I think.
So we just recently got through the holiday season, and we're sitting down at this table, but there's often times that we as a family sit down together at the dinner table and eat with all of our families together. In small family businesses, that's not always the case. A lot of times there's dissension, there's problems, and it can rip families apart. From your standpoint, what have you felt that has kept us as a strong family that still respects one another, we still respect each other, and what were some of those life lessons that we learned to be able to accomplish that?
I feel like we've always been really good communicators. We've always been willing to, if there's something we need to talk about, we'll talk about it.
It's not always been perfect.
Not always maybe what you want to talk about or what you want to do, and each of our spouses probably hear more of our side of it than each other's.
That should be the next podcast, is those three talking together.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think it is, we all have our own opinions and visions on things, but we can respect that and work together to go in the right direction, move forward, and not get too hung up on little things and things that we disagree on, and it worked out well.
I agree. I think that's probably one of our strong suits, is we just know that there's more to it in life than the little disagreements that may pop up, and address them when you can. Get everybody on the same page and move on from it, and not sit and dwell on it.
So what's one thing you could say you're most proud of with the family business and your business you've created? Well,
in general, I would say just the growth and being such a big part of the entire city of Sioux Falls, and going back to when, even as a kid, remember when it was driving around and, Dad built that building, and then doing that with our kids, Grandpa built that building, or and with my husband working here for several years, he was involved as a project manager on a lot of things. And so he still has that, hey kids, I built that building, and stuff like that. So just to be, to have the reputation that you have, and that, for me too, I remember in naming my business, which is Halvorson Management, I remember talking to Dad about it, like, what do I come up with? What should I do? And he was the one who said it's very important to use your name, because then that's, that people will say, Jan's Corporation, I know Dale, or I know Brian, or I know Brad. And so I went with the name Halvorson, which there were often occasions that were, I'd have to tell people, I'm Dale Jan's daughter. And, I didn't know that. And so but in I would say majority of circumstances, that was a good thing. So that, kind of being able to see that perspective of not automatically being, your dad just gave you your job, and things like that. And I think there has been some people that believe that about my business, that it was something my dad started and just handed off to me, which is not the case. But, I've certainly learned a lot from him, and from just seeing the whole family business thing come together in general. And so it's been good.
You touched a little bit on the difference of owning and renters, and I think it's interesting you bring up that point about putting your name on your business. That was certainly our dad's era, and you saw most businesses in that time frame put their name on their business. I think that's changed.
It has.
And in this era, people are not wanting to associate their name, probably more so on the sake of they want to sell it someday and let somebody else take over. And I think that detracts a little bit from what the service that person provides without having their name on that business. That customer service level goes down. It's almost like they're renting it, not an owner.
Right. Yeah, and not being willing to put your name on it. If it's you should, that's what people are getting or who they're getting, and particularly for me, it is just me, and my husband works with me now, and so it.
You stole him from us, didn't you?
Maybe.
We should probably set that record straight. You didn't meet him here. You guys weren't working in the field.
No,
together.
he came to work here after we started dating. Yep, after we saved him from USD. But no, he worked here for a long time.
He did, yeah. He worked his way up. That's kind of one of the jokes I always tell people about Jamie, because I know he's good for taking some humor too. But I think when you guys started dating, he first came on board. He was in the labor position, in the field, doing all kinds of different tasks. And then when you guys got married, I think he got a promotion, got moved up to safety director. And then when
I think it was when he broke his leg.
Not,
he couldn't be in the field, so they moved him into the office.
Well, that's usually how the safety director, the one who's doing the least amount of safety gets promoted to be the safety director. But and then I remember when he started to have kids, it was like, oh, now he's got to be a project manager. So that was his escalation.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. He certainly was a great employee here. Did a lot of great things for us. We were so sad to see him. We called it retirement. I think he was maybe in his mid-30s.
He took that very seriously.
Yeah,
that it was retirement. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember actually when we had to have that conversation that he was not gonna be working here anymore, and he was coming to work for me, and I wasn't really sure what to expect, how that would go, and there was, on one hand, good for you, we're happy for you, and I think there was a little bit of, how are you going to pay health insurance? Which was eye-opening, by the way. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it's been a good fit for our family and for our business, and that.
Well, maybe touch on that. How does working with your spouse on a day-to-day basis? Obviously, you share your life together outside of work, but also in work.
Yeah. Well, and Mom and Dad did that for years. Mom worked in the office, and I guess we both, and at the time that we were both here working together, we've just always kind of had that type of relationship that we can work together really well. I know that's not the case for other people, but it works for us. We office out of our home, so I have an office. He kind of works out of his truck, I guess I'd say, but we haven't had issues with it. I think communication, of course, is important in that regard too. Just making sure we're both on the same page and know who's doing what. And sometimes that doesn't always go as planned, but we work it out, and it seems to work really well.
You got to have some different hobbies or something that you get a little break from.
Yeah, he's a golfer, so we both ride motorcycles. He golfs. The perfect day for golf is the perfect day for motorcycle riding, so it usually washes out that he's going golfing. But he can take the kids or the boys when he does.
Where did
that.
you guys meet again?
We did meet on the Loop, downtown Sioux Falls, quite a few years ago, when it was still a Loop. It's not anymore.
Right.
So.
And that was all thanks to Dad buying you a convertible.
Yes.
He just jumped right in, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't remember the story. It's been too long.
The Gen Xers will get it, but
Yeah,
I think our kids are like, what do you mean
did what?
just drove around?
You did what?
Yeah.
Why?
And my other last question about Jamie. He's quite the dancer. Does he only dance at weddings and birthday parties, or is that something he's just always practicing his moves?
He's always been that way. Anymore it seems like the only time we're really in a situation for him to bust out the moves is when we're at a wedding or something. And we just had the first one, but probably the first of many. So I'm sure there's more to come.
What would you say if there's a misconception about family business or working in a family business, what's one misconception you think that's out there?
Well, and I don't know if it's necessarily a misconception, but I think one that certainly didn't apply to us is that it's not just handed to you. You do have to earn it. You do have to prove that you can handle it and that you want to do it, and to see where Jan's Corporation has grown from what it was when I was a kid, and and being able to put us in positions to go our separate ways, but learning from that. We certainly had good people to look up to when we were kids to be able to put us in positions of where we are now. So that's I think that's the biggest thing, is that people just think that it's handed over sometimes in family businesses, and sometimes it probably is, but in our situation, I wouldn't say that was the case.
Is there anything in regards to, from the construction aspect, the real estate business, to property management, that you thought 20 years ago that you no longer believe today?
I don't know. That it really struck me just recently that I had to do my continuing education for my real estate license, and the last option of how long you've been in business was 20 plus years, and I had to pick the last option. It's been a while since I felt that old, but but yeah, I would say in 20 years, just how things have changed. Just the growth of the city of Sioux Falls, and just being able to keep up with it, and being able to provide a service. When I started my property management, I didn't even know HOAs was that big of a thing, and just how it directed my business to people were coming to me saying, "Oh, I heard you manage this one. We need you to manage ours," and it's grown to 50 properties, and so it's just change and growth, and that's been the biggest thing that's happened in 20 years.
Any fun stories you want to talk about that you remember, that you recall, of either being in the field or at work, or things that just, when you think of Jan's Corporation family business, we just had our Christmas party. I don't know if we'll use this part, but our Christmas party was at a venue, and it's catered a long way from where we used to be, where Mom would make all the food.
Yeah,
all
kids would run around the whole shop.
Yeah, all the cans were in ice on a concrete covered wheelbarrow, and we just met in the shop and had a nice home cooked meal and just talked.
Yeah.
I think one of our iron worker Dan, played the banjo. I think he was our entertainment for numerous years.
Yeah.
There's only so much banjo playing you can listen to, but we did it year after year for a while.
Yeah. Santa would come every year for the more
He
recent
still came
ones.
this year.
That's perfect. Yeah. No, I don't know. There's too many memories, I guess, to pinpoint one for sure, but it's all good experience.
What would you say it is about family business that is important for communities, and what about them matters?
I think family business is important just for the fact of keeping things going, keeping businesses going, and keeping the same ethics and original ideas and plans, and the way that your business wants to be presented. You can pass that down to family members, and have them have that same vision as you, and maybe even a broader vision of expanding into other fields and doing things like that. And I think that's one of the great things about Sioux Falls, is that it is probably more common than in bigger cities and things, where when you grow up here, you tend to want to stay here and raise your family here, and think that it's potentially a lot of opportunities, but having opportunities within your own family is certainly something that is great for families to have and to be part of, and to keep that going.
One of the things, I was just reading a book, and it was talking about the difference of bigger companies versus smaller family-owned businesses, and they talked about the ability to be nimble and make decisions quick. As a company gets bigger, more pieces are involved. Like if we were wanting to change our software package that we wanted to use in our project management system, it would probably be a 2 to 3 year commitment in sunsetting the old one, taking over the new one, transferring data, training people. If you wanted to change accounting software, how would you make that decision? How would that look?
It would be, it'd really fall on me, because I'm the only one to do that sort of thing. And it would be a matter of just looking at what the best options are that are out there. And I am, tend to be a little get set in my ways of, this is what's worked for 20 years and why do I need to change it? But But so yeah, and that would be
You could change it tomorrow if you wanted to.
Could. There'd be some learning curve,
Sure.
but you know, and that would be one area where I would be excited to have a younger, you know, one of my kids or somebody come into the business, because they certainly know more about the latest and greatest
Sure.
and things like that. So I think they could certainly provide some insight there. And for me, it's more a matter of finding the time to be able to look into making those types of changes and things like
So
that.
since your kids are, you know, in that mid-20 range, and they've got you on the tech side, have any of them ever done a podcast before?
I don't think so.
You
Not
beat
that
'em.
I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you're
did
ahead of
something before they did, I guess. I'll go home and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I did this one and that one." Okay.
So you mentioned earlier about starting your own business, and with your husband coming on board too, you realize that health insurance is expensive and not something. What are some other things you weren't anticipating starting your own business and starting out that kind of shocked you, but obviously you've dealt with and have had to learn that process of the business and shift? What was the most surprising things?
Health insurance was definitely the most surprising cost that I wasn't expecting. But I would say, you know, just working with really every kind of different personality you can think of, and the day-to-day things of not being able to keep everybody happy, you know, it's just not possible. And so just really for me to learn to not take things personally, and to not let what, you know, somebody's upset about something with their home, which I get because it's their home and they want it fixed, but it might be something that caused it that's out of my control, like a weather item or something like that. And so really just been dealing with, and the other thing I would say I've learned more about than I ever cared to is the insurance industry in general when it comes to claims and how to cover deductibles and some of these big properties where they have very expensive policies that are constantly increasing. And it's just been a challenge to be able to talk to people and in a way that they can understand it, in a way that they're not just looking at how it affects their pocketbook, and that they have to look at the whole general idea of what they need to operate their association. Each association is really a small business, and they're all a little bit different, and they have to work around that.
So maybe that is some great advice you could offer someone who's listening that may be looking to buy a new home, and they find out that the home that they're looking to buy is in an HOA. You see it from a different perspective because you manage those HOAs. What are some things that people looking to buy a house that might be a part of an HOA, what should they be looking for within that? Like, I know some of them have community centers and pools that you can rent out. Some of them have lawn care service or don't. What are some things you would recommend to people looking at that to say, definitely go these routes?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, they should look at the financials. They should see how much money that association has in the bank. And if they don't have a lot of money in the bank, well, how are the services? Is it a private road? Is it a community building? Is there, what kind of things are on the property that they would potentially have to pay for? And I think that's the biggest one people probably overlook is private roads. It's expensive to maintain a private road. You don't get assistance from the city. They, you know, it's you're covering the snow removal, the patching, the overlay, whatever it might be. And if you don't have the funds to do that, that's expensive, and they're going to come to each owner as the ones who have to cover that. And I think that's the biggest misconception of people that don't understand buying into an HOA is they view it as this bottomless pit of money that, well, that's what I pay for. I pay for this to be done and that to be done. But the association can only pay for whatever they have the funds for. And the only funding source is its members.
Sure.
And so they'd have to be aware of the fact that if there's not a lot of money to pay for those big projects, it's likely coming in the form of an assessment, and they'll have to pay that out of their pocket.
If you lived in a residence that had an HOA, would you serve on the HOA board?
No. And I, in fact, even tell my husband that the one thing I've learned doing this is I don't want to live in an HOA.
They're not for everybody.
And who I don't want to be when I grow up.
I think for the right person, it makes sense. That was my question, is if you could kind of maybe walk us quickly through the process. in a sense, I feel like there's some similarities to the construction world where you probably have a contract with these HOAs as the manager. You are soliciting bids for whether it's lawn maintenance, snow removal, some of those type things. Can you explain the process of how it works for you?
Yeah, so every association is a little bit different, and I think that's one of the biggest things, that varies by association is what amenities are included or what they provide. And probably the number one question I get from every HOA board or association members that I work with is, how do our dues compare to other properties? Well, it's hard to give an answer to that because you might be at the same exact price as another property, but they are a lot smaller or a lot bigger or have different amenities that you don't. One of the bigger ones is some have internet provided, or whether or not the insurance is provided, or the roads, and so there's so many things that go into it that people don't. They just see the number. They see the $300 a month and don't see what all comes with that $300 a month, or how many people are contributing that same amount. So, but yeah, I do have contracts with each of the HOAs that I manage. They all vary a little bit. Some have monthly meetings, some only meet as needed. Some, are very hands-on and want to be involved in every decision that's made. And others just, Erin, you do the work and tell us how we're doing. So it's quite a variety of different things on a daily basis of what I'm working on.
And I just realized, when you have a house appraised, an HOA can be considered into that appraisal value of what all their role can be.
Yeah.
So that's something else to consider when either buying or selling a house, of that can come into effect of the value of your house.
Yeah, and really just for people to know what they're buying. I hear a lot people that when we have to do an assessment, say for something with the pool needs to be repaired, and we have to raise money to make a certain repair to the pool, I don't use the pool. Well, but you bought a property that has a pool, so you still have to maintain it.
Yep.
And I try to be polite in saying things like, this is what you bought, and this is what you have to participate in funding.
Membership is all inclusive.
Yeah, exactly. Probably the other biggest catchphrase or thing, people buy into the idea of maintenance free. And I always have to clarify, it's as maintenance free as you're willing to pay for. And so it's a lot of people that think that things are just included in their fees. Well, those things have to be paid for. And so, if you want your snow moved every time there's a flake in the air, we can do that, but it'll cost a little more.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Two Bees in a Podcast. Erin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Her website is halvorsonmanagement.com. And Halvorson Property Management is your business. Please subscribe, share with friends. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments, and we'll look forward to seeing you on future episodes.
Mom, we're coming over for dinner.
We appreciate you listening. Everything we do is a collaboration, and we appreciate you being here to share this with us.
Yeah, our goal is always the same: to build relationships, to build structures, and to tell the stories that we've experienced along the way.
Feel free to drop us a comment, share it with a friend, and like this podcast.
Or call me if you just want to talk about cows.
So until next time,
keep building. No, get out of here.